I don't know how many other grandchildren you have. I don't know how many other people are in your life, but clearly you did not have a good relationship with your son. That I get from you, because after December, I asked you how many times you spoke to him, and you said once in February, and then I lost touch. I have children. I've never not known where they were for more than a week. I couldn't sleep unless I knew where my children were located. So for you to say I didn't know where he was for 5 months suggests to me, along with some of the other things that I've read, that you did not have a good relationship with your son. And there were things that your son wrote to you that suggested that he didn't feel a fatherly bond that existed between the two of you, based upon what he said. And I say this only to you, Mr. Lamont, because it's a very bad time when you lose a child, especially in circumstances like this. What it's always easier to do is to be angry with somebody else. It's always easy to say, I'm going to target somebody else, rather than to look inside of me and saying, what could I have done as a parent when he was 5, 10, 15, 20, when he had alcohol problems? Maybe he got them from me. Maybe it's a family problem. But what you've done is you've turned it and twisted it and said, she's the cause. That's the only reason I can think of why someone would send a text message with a grotesque picture that somebody would have in front of their eyes of somebody that they at least sometime cared about and was the father of their 4 children. So that's a sick thing to do. And that's what happens sometimes when people don't grieve appropriately, but instead turn that grief into anger, which is what you did.
Your Honor, I've been bailing my son out since he was 14 years old. And
well,
the only
you
time
raised
he
him.
calls me is when he needs
She didn't
something.
raise him. You raised him. She didn't raise him. She inherited him. Now, there's an old expression, give me a child until they're 5 and they're mine forever. I don't know what your son saw, heard, or lived with in his house when he was growing up. I don't know. And maybe some of that was visited on his wife, and his children had to be around that. I clearly know one thing. I know, because I've been in the business a long time, that she's not an alcoholic. And according to you, your son was. And did drugs, because that's what you say on Facebook, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So I would grieve appropriately, but stop being angry at her. She didn't create him. You and his mother created him. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $250. And it's unfortunate, but maybe now he'll stop. That's all. Thank you.
He's so eat up with guilt of how he treated his son.
To me, I love my son.
He threw his son and his daughter across the room when they were kids.
Negative. Never mistreated my children.
He treated him terrible.
Me and my son got along. We did things together. We fished together.
And his last message to his son 2 days before his death
She didn't bring that up.
was, you'd be better off in a pine box, son.
She lies.
I haven't had time to grieve over my husband's death.
Ashley never grieved.
I feel like he very, very much so caused me so much mental
Her boyfriend was with her at my son's memorial service.
and emotional distress. He's an ugly, ugly, sick man.
And she's one of the best liars I know.